Heavyweights, the king division of combat sports. A division where no matter what's happening, one punch can change everything. From the days of Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson ruling boxing,
there's no one can stop me. Lynx is a conqueror. No, I'm Alexander. He's no Alexander. I'm the best ever.
To the golden age of Pride.
I suck dick. I suck dick. Yeah, no? Yeah. Say it again. Real tough. Read down? Yeah, I suck dick. Okay. Yeah. You do? No, I don't. You do.
To the modern UFC era, where fighters like Brock, Kane, JDS, Werdum, DC, Stipe, and Francis carried the sport's heaviest crown. For decades, heavyweight was where the biggest names, the biggest knockouts, and the biggest moments lived. Until it wasn't. The UFC's heavyweight division is at its lowest point in history. We're seeing guys lose fights and still crack the rankings. Outside the top 10, it's mostly fat brawlers, and the best fighter in the division hasn't fought in over a year, through no fault of his own.
John Jones isn't afraid to fight anybody.
I respect it, but if you're going to ask me the straight up question, is John Jones afraid to fight me? The honest answer would be yes.
Does he want to do it?
He does want to do it.
What would it take to fight Tom Aspinall?
I'll see you guys later.
Out of all the problems and the lack of talent in the heavyweight division, the biggest fight in the weight class still fell apart. But whose fault was it?
You know, we had the fight done.
In combat sports, heavyweight has always been the king division. All the way from boxing, where the heavyweight champion wasn't just a champion, he was the baddest man on the planet. Legends like Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson captured the world's attention with their size, power, and larger-than-life personalities.
Put your mother in a straight jacket, you punk-ass white boy. Come here and tell me that if I f*** you in your ass, you punk white boy.
When MMA came along, that same aura followed. Fans already knew that the biggest man in the cage, the one who could end a fight with a single punch, had a special kind of authority.
If I hit anybody clean, they're going over. That's what's going on these days. If I hit someone clean, they're going over, and there's no arguments about that. It's proven now.
The heavyweight belt in the UFC inherited that boxing legacy, becoming the sport's ultimate prize.
I'm the boxing heavyweight champion, UFC heavyweight champion. He's in great shape. Look at the muscles on him.
And we're going to find out who is the baddest motherfucker on the planet.
Heavyweights embody raw, primal power, where one clean shot can change everything. And that's why heavyweight has always been the division that defines the sport's true king. Even now, when you think about the legends of combat sports from 20 or 30 years ago, you almost always picture a heavyweight. That's why the heavyweight crown has always been the royal status in combat sports. When the UFC started breaking into the mainstream in the late 90s and early 2000s, the timing couldn't have been better.
I mean, boxing was as big as it's ever been, you know, in the late 80s, early 90s, and then, you know, really started falling apart as it started getting closer to the late 90s and early 2000s.
The golden heavyweight era in boxing was done, and the division never crowned another undisputed champion. From 1999 all the way to 2024, boxing couldn't unify the heavyweight belts. They only pulled it off when Mr. Turkey stepped in and threw $150 million to make Fury versus Usyk happen. And even then, Usyk held the undisputed crown for just a couple of weeks before the IBF stripped him. That's how fractured boxing had become. And that's exactly where the UFC and Pride in Japan saw their opening. Fans wanted a baddest man on the planet again, and they weren't getting it in the boxing ring anymore. But they got it in MMA. Over the years, MMA blew up and took over, and the heavyweight division was where the real heat was. The UFC and Pride FC turned fighters into legends, shoving boxing out of the spotlight.
All on camera, like...
These weren't just fights, they were...
I'll have to disagree with something that Mr. Saki Kabara said earlier. He was talking about all the other MMA organizations that are coming up and climbing up the ladder. I laugh at that. I think they're all a joke. The only two companies in this world that matter are the UFC and Pride.
In the UFC, Randy Couture became the face of the early heavyweight era. At 40, he went toe-to-toe with beasts like Tim Sylvia, a 6'8" monster who leaned on his size to dominate.
How about when Randy dropped Tim Sylvia, that inside
right?
low kick?
Oh, that was the greatest fight I've ever saw.
We're like, what?
That was like the greatest fight I've ever saw for a guy to come back and get that belt.
And Tim was so big.
Randy was the first heavyweight of many to be blacklisted by Dana White.
You feel a little bit betrayed by Randy?
Well, I can tell you this. Randy Couture comes off as the greatest guy in the world, Captain America. He's the furthest thing from it. And I'm happy to not be in business with him anymore. Now I don't ever have to be in business with him ever again. How's that? Does that answer it?
Pretty much sums it up.
That's going to be a surprising statement for a lot of fans, because I think
not for a lot of people that know him, it won't be. 99.9% of the people, that won't be shocking at all, that know him. People that actually really know him, not people that watch him on TV.
Over in Japan, Pride FC was a different animal. Imagine 90,000 fans going wild in the Tokyo Dome as Fedor stepped up.
You know, when you look at the great heavyweights of all time, it's so hard to say like who's the greatest of all time, but you got to have him in the conversation.
Then there was Mirko Cro Cop, a Croatian cop whose left high kick was a death sentence.
Yeah, he's one of the hardest kickers ever. There's a picture of him when he fought Heath Herring. Did you ever see that fight?
Oh, yeah, he kicked him in the body?
He kicked him in the body, and his body is like, his shin is like halfway into his body. It's a horrible picture.
And to finally make the best fights possible, the UFC bought Pride in 2007.
We finally now get to set the best matches ever. We, as an organization, Pride as an organization, and you, the fans, all benefit, and the fighters, to find out who really is the best fighter in the world.
On paper, it was the dream move, combining the two biggest heavyweight rosters in the world. But Randy, Mirko, and Fedor all had one thing in common: bad relationships with Dana White.
We offered Fedor Emelianenko an ungodly amount of money, and they didn't want the fight. I don't know what to tell you.
I don't dislike Fedor or anything like that. But no, it didn't happen, you know, just... We gave it a shot. We can't say we didn't try. We gave it a shot, and it is what it is.
Although maybe this wasn't Dana White's mistake, this was the first time we saw the best heavyweight fighters in the world, and they couldn't fight each other.
I wish he would have came to the UFC, though. I wish they would have
got close. Got real close. They had some meetings, but apparently the people that Fedor had running with him, the people that were running his business were, you know, they wanted a lot. You know, they wanted like co-promotion with the UFC. It wasn't just like, give us some money.
Even with all that, the 2010's UFC heavyweight division was an absolute beast. And this is where the division gave us some of its wildest moments. Brock Lesnar returned from WWE and instantly turned pay-per-views into blockbusters.
Brock Lesnar's enhanced.
Cain Velasquez stunned the world with relentless pressure and cardio that no one thought possible in a heavyweight.
My humble opinion, when I look at all of the different heavyweights that I've personally seen fight, Cain stands out as the best. The reason why Cain stands out as the best is because he has superhuman endurance.
Junior Dos Santos knocked out Cain to take the belt and survived wars with Mark Hunt that had fans on the edge of their seats. Daniel Cormier proved technique could beat size. Without a joke, DC proved that even at 5'11", you can become UFC heavyweight champion of the world.
From crying in this very same octagon last year, almost a year to the day, to becoming the UFC heavyweight champion.
And Stipe Miocic became the most successful heavyweight champ in UFC history.
You truly believe that you're the greatest of all time?
Yeah, I do. No one's ever defended it 3 times. I've done it. I had a killer's row of fighters to get to it. I had a hard path to get to the title, and I had a hard path to defend the title.
Francis Ngannou brought raw, unparalleled knockout power to the division, redefining what it meant to be feared in the octagon. His fists could end any fight in a single moment, reminding everyone why the heavyweight crown was still the most dangerous prize in combat sports.
Francis Ngannou has the world record for the most powerful punch. His punch is the equivalent to 96 horsepower, which is equal to getting hit by a Ford Escort going as fast as it can. And it's more powerful than a 12-pound sledgehammer swung full force from overhead. Holy shit.
Right now, the UFC heavyweight division is a shadow of what it used to be. Many people say the heavyweight talent pool is the problem, but It is not. Over the years, MMA has developed to the point where every division is stacked, and the grind to the top is harder than ever. It's impossible to believe that only heavyweights suddenly ran out of talent. In Europe alone, there are plenty of legit heavyweights who are satisfied with the money and conditions they get outside the UFC. They don't see a reason to fight under stricter contracts just to be on the UFC roster. But one thing people don't understand about the UFC is why they keep cutting heavyweights even when they're on a winning streak.
If you cut guys who like in a winning like streak, I don't know, it's maybe something wrong with them.
Martin Buday was 7-1 in the UFC, and while people complained that his style was boring, the reality is he was winning fights. In a division already starving for fresh contenders, cutting someone with a record like that makes zero sense.
I was really upset and very sad about it because I love UFC and I was hoping to get re-signed. Yeah, so I was sad for the situation.
But the thing that is killing the UFC heavyweight division the most is inactivity. Just look at the last 5 years of undisputed championship fights across each division. Flyweight, 10 undisputed title fights. Bantamweight, 8. Featherweight, 6, all controlled by Volkanovski. Lightweight, 9. Welterweight, 8. Middleweight, 11. Light heavyweight, 10. And the King division, 4. 4 title fights in 5 years. But what caused the inactivity? It really starts with Francis. After his first title shot loss to Stipe in 2018, and then the notoriously awful fight with Derek Lewis, it was clear that problems were occurring behind the scenes.
Where do you feel a guy like that goes from here?
Horrible. You know, I think that, you know, he had a pretty quick rise here, and obviously the fight over Alistair Overeem, you know, catapulted him, you know, everybody was talking about him. I thought he was going to be the next guy. I think his ego ran away with him big time. I can tell you that his ego absolutely did run away with him. And the minute that happens to you in the fight game, you see what happens. Start to fall apart. I had some personal encounters with him, as did other people in the organization. And this guy's ego just was so out of control. It's like before the Stipe fight, he took off and went to France. Didn't even really train for that fight.
Dana White admitted the UFC was seriously considering cutting him.
And I was going to cut Francis when he lost 2 in a row. I was going to cut him.
That was after the Derek Lewis
fight? Somebody around here begged me not to do it.
But instead of falling apart, Francis came back with a vengeance. He rattled off 4 brutal first-round knockouts in a row. Each one was more violent than the last.
Francis, 15 weeks work for 20 seconds. How do you feel about the knockout?
I feel really good about it, man. And, you know, it doesn't matter if he was 15 weeks. And obviously, if the camp has to be hard and the fight easy, I'll take that one.
The UFC had no choice but to give him another shot at the belt, and in 2021 he left no doubt. He flatlined Stipe with a counter left hook and finally became the undisputed heavyweight champion. Everything was looking good at that point, and the relationship between Francis and Dana seemed to be back on track.
I know in his first rise to the top, he even admitted kind of that he got a little full of himself, you know, and was feeling how he was. So now that he's on top of the world, what do you think? I mean, have you had time to talk to him or get a feel of what you think he's going to be like as a champion?
I can't explain to you guys enough about how it's keeping your head together when you either get the title shot or once you get the title. There's a lot of things that go along with being the champion, and it's not as easy as just training and fighting anymore. There's a lot that goes with it. So, you know, yeah, he got a little ahead of himself the first time. Let's see how he handles it this time. So far, so good.
The UFC wanted him to defend against Derek Lewis, but it didn't take long before things started to fall apart.
I think the UFC has big plans for him. I think they get very excited. They want to book the big fights. And Francis kind of telling them no.
If you don't want to fight, no problem. Fly around the world, go on vacations and do whatever the hell you want to do. And when you're ready to fight, We'll be here.
The UFC booked Gane versus Lewis for an interim title just 4 months after Francis won the belt.
You're gonna have to excuse my French, but f you and f him.
Gane won that fight and became interim champion, setting up a unification bout against Francis.
How's your relationship with Francis now? I know he wasn't initially happy about how this all played out. Have you guys talked and
listen, Francis and I are whatever we are. You know, I was all Francis, and you know we had a little issue after before the first Stipe fight, and you know we've been what we are ever since. I don't dislike Francis. You know, we'll get it done. Try to make him happy and see what we can do.
Will it be a priority to get that done quickly? You think as fast as you can?
Hell, yeah. We'll want to get it done as soon as possible.
The UFC then booked Francis versus Gane in January 2022.
Does it feel like going in like this is going to be Francis's last fight in the UFC? Like, do you have that kind of feeling, or do you feel like you want to keep him around and move forward with him? How does it feel going into this?
I honestly don't know. You know, and you know, my philosophy has always been, listen, if you don't want to be with us, that's not fun for anybody. So, you know, we'll see how this fight plays out, and we'll see where we go from here.
Francis came in with a torn ACL and MCL, but still managed to wrestle his way to a decision win. That should have been the crowning moment of his career, but instead, that's when everything fell apart.
I noticed Mick Maynard put the belt on you and not Dana. Was that at your request? You didn't want Dana to do that, or why did that happen?
I don't know. You have to ask him.
Dana refused to put the belt around Francis's waist, skipped the post-fight press conference, and only came out 4 days later to say that it had nothing to do with Francis.
Is that I wasn't out there for the main event. I actually walked out of the arena right after the co-main event because there was stuff going on backstage that I was dealing with. But you know, for anybody to think that I was showing any type of disrespect toward Francis, I saw Francis all week, you idiots. I shook his hand. I said hi to him. You know, I was out there for the stare downs, the whole thing.
Although Dana White might be telling the truth, what could possibly be more important in the arena than the main event? Was this just a stupid excuse?
Does it make you wonder what your future is in the company given that?
Well, it's been a long time that I've been wondering about my future in the company, so nothing has changed. I'm still in the same position.
After that night, things only got more complicated. Francis wasn't just looking for a new UFC deal, he was asking for something bigger. He wanted the right to step outside the UFC and box against Tyson Fury.
I want to bring in Francis Ngannou. Francis, come here, ESPN.
Is this your next fight?
I'm the boxing heavyweight champion, UFC heavyweight champion. He's in great shape, look at the muscles on him.
And we're going to find out who is the baddest motherfucker on the planet.
But that was the exact opposite of what the UFC wanted. Dana White and the UFC brass had no interest in letting their heavyweight champion step into boxing.
You know, he's got it in his head that there's bigger opportunities outside the UFC with, you know, lesser opponents.
And did this just come down to a dollar figure? I mean, or was it like other things, like I want a bigger portion of paper?
I think that you're going to fight arguably the greatest fighter of all time. You'd be the highest paid heavyweight ever in UFC history. Or you think there's more money out there to fight somebody who isn't the greatest of all time, somebody who is a lesser opponent.
Negotiations dragged on for months, and the UFC kept framing it as a money issue.
I ran into him 2 weeks ago at a restaurant, and you know, literally our tables were right next to each other. So the universe kind of got us together, and we talked, and we had a good conversation. You know, it was something that needed to happen one way or another, however this ends up. That conversation needed to happen. It did, and it was a very good conversation, and we'll see how it goes.
After months of negotiations, in January 2023, Francis Ngannou was officially released from the UFC.
We offered Francis a deal that would have made him the highest paid heavyweight in the history of the company. More than Lesnar, more than anybody. And he turned the deal down. So we're going to release him from his contract. We're going to give up our right to match, and he can go wherever he wants and do whatever he wants.
But the real question was, how did this affect the heavyweight division? Because remember, we had an undisputed champion who was knocking everybody out, the clear best heavyweight on the planet. And then suddenly, he was gone. So what happens when your most dominant champion just walks away? The UFC's answer was to book Cyril Gane versus John Jones for the undisputed title.
You know, if you look at the fight with Francis and Cyril, it was a damn close fight. So there's no doubt that those two guys are the best heavyweights in the world. And for John to come out and face either one of them is exciting. It's fun.
But the optics weren't great. The heavyweight belt is supposed to mean you are the best in the world, yet the best heavyweight at the time wasn't even in the organization anymore. After beating Cyril Gane, John Jones didn't waste time. He called out Stipe Miocic.
One thing I know about the UFC is we give the fans what they want to see. Stipe Miocic, I hope you're training, my guy. You're the greatest heavyweight of all time, and that's what I want. I want you real bad.
And on paper, it made sense. There wasn't a clear contender at heavyweight. Stipe, on the other hand, was a two-time champion and widely considered the greatest heavyweight in UFC history.
Getting a chance to fight John Jones, the greatest of all time.
Take him out. Yep. It's gonna happen.
For the heavyweight championship of the world, John Jones, the greatest mixed martial artist of all time, will defend his title against the greatest heavyweight of all time, former champ Stipe Miocic.
But that plan fell apart quickly. Jones got injured in training and was forced out for what turned into a 9-month layoff.
Sergey Pavlovich, the #2 ranked heavyweight, 18-1 with 15 knockouts. He has an 83% finish rate. His last 7 wins all ended in the very first round. Tom Aspinall, he's the #4 ranked heavyweight. He's 13-3 with 10 knockouts and 3 subs. That's a 100% finish rate.
For the first time since Francis walked away, it felt like we were actually getting a real heavyweight fight that mattered. Pavlovich came in as the scariest knockout artist in the division, starching everyone he fought in the first round. Aspinall was the new wave, fast, technical, and well-rounded in a way heavyweights usually aren't. Both were dangerous, both were hungry, and both wanted to prove who the best in the world was. Aspinall made his statement, knocking out Pavlovich in just over a minute with clean counters and finished him with brutal ground and pound. And just like that, the interim belt was around his waist, and for the first time in years, the UFC had a heavyweight who looked like the legit future of the division.
I just want to say to everyone at home, listen, if you ever get the chance to do something and you're scared to do it, you should definitely do it, because there's a chance it's going to pay off.
We saw Stipe tonight, and obviously we wanted to have Stipe and John. Is that still the fight to make, or do you feel like maybe Tom deserves to fight John or deserves to fight Stipe, or maybe that's a better fight?
No. You do those two.
Right.
Those two both deserve that fight. That's the fight they want. What I love is that John Jones, you know, as soon as he heard that he was injured and he knew how bad it was, went right to LA, got the surgery, and he's already in rehab. So
after Aspinall won the interim belt, the landscape of the heavyweight division completely changed. But the UFC ignored all of that momentum. They stayed locked in on Jones and Stipe. And as time passed, the hype around that fight collapsed. By the time it was finally announced for November 2024, the optics were embarrassing. Nearly 3 full years without the undisputed belt being defended. 3 years where the supposed best heavyweight in the world wasn't fighting the other best heavyweights. And that's the heart of the problem. The belt is supposed to mean you are the best in the world, but in reality, it was being held hostage. Neither Jones nor Stipe had any interest in actually cleaning out the division. Stipe was coming back for one big payday. Jones openly admitted over and over again that he only wanted legacy fights.
Fight the nobody that may be more dangerous, or fight the guy with all the accolades who's incredibly dangerous, but it actually will affect your legacy.
Think about it. We all know how great Mike Tyson was, but if Jake Paul somehow beats a 58-year-old Tyson, does that add to Jake Paul's legacy? Of course not. Because beating legends way past their prime isn't proving you're the best. It's proving you avoided the real competition. The narrative that anyone deserves to skip the line and fight for the belt without facing the division's best is absolute nonsense.
Those two both deserve that fight. That's the fight they want.
This is not a retirement exhibition match. This is the undisputed heavyweight title. And when you're not fighting contenders, fans will call you old, washed and out of touch.
We need to get Stipe out of there. Let's be honest, like, the guy's 43 years old. He's had a 4-year layoff and his last fight was a knockout loss. Granted, he's a absolute legend in the sport of MMA. He's the best heavyweight ever, like, statistically, he's the best heavyweight ever, but the guy needs to be pulled out of the race. The guy needs to be Joe Biden, mate. He's too old. No one's that interested anymore. And I respect Stipe a lot. Pull him out. Stick me in.
By the time November 2024 rolled around, the gap between what fans wanted and what the UFC was delivering had never been wider, and all the momentum was with Tom Aspinall. That's when the Aspinall narrative completely took over. Every interview,
Tom Aspinall is going to be there.
Every press conference.
Why are you not ducking Tom Aspinall? What are they reading wrong about this situation?
The same question came up.
Do you want to see the winner fight Tom? The winner should absolutely fight Tom.
When John finally fought Miocic, the fight itself almost didn't matter. Everyone knew what the real question was. What's next?
You know, I decided that maybe I will not retire, and that I have some conversations to have with Dana and Hunter, and we have some negotiating to do. And if everything goes right, maybe we'll give you guys what you want to see.
The fight that had been teased, delayed, have finally felt real. After years of problems in the heavyweight division, champions leaving, champions getting injured, interim champions defending interim belts, we finally came to the point where it all made sense. Not just another title fight, not just another defense. This was the biggest heavyweight fight in UFC history.
I think it's probably the biggest fight in heavyweight history, and it's a massive fight in the history of the company too.
For years, the belt looked like a prop, held hostage, stripped of its meaning. But now, it was lined up between the most decorated fighter in MMA history and the most dangerous, hungry heavyweight the UFC had seen in a decade.
Quote, emerge and talk with, you know, Dana and Hunter. So I guess, what is your plan moving forward for the next few weeks?
I'm not really worried about the Tom fight. I'm really worried about the Pereira fight. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do, and I think if the UFC wants to have me back, then I think that's the fight they'll make. I've been really clear about my intentions.
It was just too good to be true.
Okay. You know what tonight told me? There's no fucking way I make the Pereira fight.
Okay.
After the fight, things got even messier. Dana White went everywhere, insisting that John would 100% fight again.
From day one, I've been confident that John Jones would do that fight, right? I mean, even before the fight, I said if he won, there's no way John doesn't do this fight. John Jones isn't afraid to fight anybody. Tom Aspinall, I didn't read it. I told you guys already, we'll get Aspinall versus Jones done.
Would you guarantee 100% we see that fight?
Yeah, I'll say 100%.
Does he want to do it? You know, because we know he could beat anybody. Does he want to do it?
He does want to do it.
So that fight is still the target for both men?
I've said it many times that's the fight that we want to make this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the year, you said you were super confident. It's definitely going to happen. Are you still super confident?
Still super confident.
Meanwhile, every time someone asked John about Tom, he deflected. His answers were vague, evasive, or straight up dismissive.
Could we expect one more rodeo?
You know, I don't know what life holds as far as fighting and competing. I do feel like I'll be a lifelong martial artist, whether I'm coaching others or taking exhibition matches or things like that.
Months passed, and the pressure on the UFC kept building. Fans, media, and fighters alike were all pushing for the fight.
Tom Aspinall is the guy to say, look, how long do I want to sit on the sidelines? I don't want to sit there and wait for Conor McGregor, as we saw Michael Chandler do, right? He needs to fight. He needs to make money. He needs to make a living and continue his career while he's in the prime of his career.
And Tom Aspinall couldn't wait any longer.
I've been almost a year inactive with no prospects of anything apart from wait. Just be ready, and we'll just let you know.
The pressure on Dana White had never been higher.
John's been tweeting a lot about the fact that he's told you his plans, he's ready to vacate the belt, and all the rest of it.
He said he's ready to vacate the belt?
He said he doesn't care if you strip him, he would vacate it.
Crazy. Yeah, I've been busy. I haven't been keeping up with the gossip. He comes back, he's either back today or came back yesterday or whenever he's in Thailand. So he's home. We'll be home tonight, and Tuesday we'll figure this out.
From a 100% guarantee, the fight came to this.
I'll do what I can to make the fight, if we can. If he's talking that crazy shit. I didn't realize that.
You said the timeline for Jones, 2 weeks to decide what to do with the title. But whether it takes the fight or you're going to strip him, what do you think is more important? To keep the belt there so he can uphold his legacy, or we move the heavyweight division, take the title away from him?
John Jones called us last night and retired. John Jones is officially retired. Tom Aspinall is the heavyweight champion of the UFC.
And just like that, a new heavyweight champion was crowned.
The news has broken, I'm sure everybody's seen it. UFC undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
To put this into perspective, Francis' negotiations dragged on for over 14 months, ending with the champion walking away from the company without ever losing his belt inside the cage. The undisputed belt went undefended for nearly 1,000 days. Interim title fights had to keep the division moving. First, Cyril Gane versus Derek Lewis, and then Aspinall versus Pavlovich. The UFC was basically patching holes while waiting for the real champion to show up. After years of failed talks, failed matchups, and champions leaving the organisation, the UFC heavyweight division managed to lose its only lifeline. The biggest fight in heavyweight history, Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall, managed to fail. A fight that, if nothing else, would have reminded us why the UFC's heavyweight division has always been known as the king division of combat sports.
Massively appreciate the support going forward. I'm going to keep this thing as active as possible. I want to be the best heavyweight ever to walk the face of the earth. I'm going to defend this thing as many times as I possibly can. I'm going to keep you guys entertained. I'm going to really give back to everybody who has shown me support over the last year, over the last 5 years, over the last 10 years. Really appreciate the support and love from everybody, and we're going to see an active defending UFC heavyweight undisputed champion going forward. Thank you guys, and I'll speak to you soon.
While the belt has been tied up in drama, retirements and injuries, Aspinall has been the guy showing up and doing his job. If the heavyweight division is ever going to recover its reputation as the king division of combat sports, Tom Aspinall is the man who can make it happen. He will be defending his title against Cyril Gane on October 25th this year. It will mark almost another full year without an undisputed title fight. At this point, whether Cyril Gane deserves this shot or not isn't even the question anymore. The only thing that matters is, let these guys fight.